Three, two, one. That was obviously a fake countdown. I wasn't counting down before. But anyways, three, two, one, and we are live. No applause tonight. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Justin Reads Stuff. This episode is brought to you by Harlan's Fever. Yeah, he's not here with us tonight because he's got a fever, and Joe is not here either. We thought that we would just give it to me as a solo show. Rob isn't here either. And yeah, I'm going to read some stories. And this is Justin Reads Stuff Battle Stories Edition. Battle Stories. Battle Stories are happening on the stream. See if we can get something freaky to read. People gonna suggest stories for me. Yeah, that's the Battle Stories theme song. This is going to be tough for me because I'm narrating a book called Battle Spire right now. And so I'm going to be calling this episode Battle Spire probably at some point, even though it's called Battle Stories. Yeah. So this idea to do Battle Stories, I've been mulling it over for months. Not at all, actually. It was just today in the chat that Brian Miller and Aisha were talking about battle stories, and I had no idea what that was. And then I thought, hey, why don't we try to rank and compare the different story suggestions and see, well, yeah, not to be competitive, battle stories, but just to see like which stories get the most spooks. So I'm still not 100% sure how this is going to work. I'm kind of winging it here, which, as you know, is kind of the Invictus way. But it's going to be a chill night. We're gonna read some stuff. If you would like to submit a story for me to read, head on over to the Discord. The main Discord that we're going to be chatting in is Justin Reads Stuff, and the you can also submit stories just below that in the Battle Story Champion Submissions, which is a very long name. Requirements for the story has to be creepy, what you think is creepy or scary, and also under 3,000 words. If it's a little bit over 3,000, like, 500, 600 words over 3,000, then that's okay. I'll let it slide. But 3,000 should be your mark. That's what you're aiming for. And because I don't want to be reading, one story that's going to take up a whole hour. Basically, 3,000 words is just under 20 minutes. So if you pick a story that's, 10,000 words long, that's a full hour. That's like, if you're an audiobook narrator, that you get paid per finished hour, and that's a lot of money that I'd be paid if I was actually narrating that. So, yeah, I'm going to be keeping my eye on both chats. Yeah, let's see who's here. Let's see. We got Carly. Hello, Carly. We got Colin Bro. Welcome, bro. Brew. I feel like it's French. Bro. Is that correct? Oh, we got Mike Kyle, we got Michael and Brianna, we got Mike Fazio, we got Colin Burkhart, Michelle Becker, Jeff McDonald, Bjorn Bjorngerstern. Bjorn. What's your last name, Bjorn? Bjorn Bjork? Bjorn? Is it Bjorn? Bro, cool. Yeah. Well, welcome everybody. If you are watching live on YouTube, there is a Discord link in the description, and you'll be able to come by and hang out with us there. And okay, bear with me. I'm just going to open the YouTube video just to see whether or not. Yeah, okay, so Bjorn's already on top of it, letting YouTubers know that they can join us here. What else? What else do we got to go over? Oh, we got John Regan, the Wacky Duck. John Week and Wacky Duck, brother. Sweet. Well, I'm happy you all. Oh, Peterson, right? Bjorn Peterson. Of course, it's Peterson or Pedersen. Is it Pedersen? Perfect. So, how is this going to work? Well, I'm going to read a story. I'm going to post the link in the battle story submissions. Now, please keep the battle story submissions just links. Just links to a story. Don't make comments or anything like that. I want to try to keep it clear. So we've got a few suggestions. And I'm going to start things off just to set the mood. Well, actually, I'm going to start things off with a beer. My one beer a week. This is the classic Ignorant Farmer. Artwork by the uber-talented Rob Diabald. Not Diabald, sorry, Rob Donaldson. Same initials, practically the same person. Yeah, so I'm going to be starting things off with a short story by Neil Gaiman. And it is this one here. So now I'm going to post this. The way we're going to battle the stories is I'm going to post this in the Battle Story Champion submissions. So you guys will mostly be just like hanging out in the Justin Reed's stuff thread. And while I'm reading the story, if you feel spooked at any point, if it's the story that spooks you, if it's my voice that spooks you, if it's one of the comments in the Justin Reed stuff thread that spooks you, if you ever get a sense of spook or a chill or get freaked out a little bit, then I want you to click on the emoticon that I'm going to post. And it's an emoticon of a skull. There it is. So if you feel spooked out by the story, just click on the skull. And then at the end, we'll be able to see how many skulls there are. And that's how we're going to judge. That's our spookometer. All right? Is that clear? Everybody get that? And there's always going to be a bit of a delay. So I'm watching the chat on a bit of a, I'm watching it on a delay. So, yeah, spooky. All right. Oh, Lauren is here. Hello, Lauren. Yeah. So just do that. And again, we want to keep the champion submission clear. If you've submitted a story, leave that story up there. You can post it on afterwards, but if you haven't posted anything yet, but if you have posted, you've made your submission. Let's keep the Battle Story Champion submission thread as clear as possible. All right. Cool. So let's start this. This is a new short story by Neil Gaiman. And what is it called? Ah, there we go. It is called Click Clack, the Rattle Bag. And I'm going to get a little closer to my microphone. I've never actually read this story. So let's see what we get. All right. It might be spooky. It might not be spooky. Might have zero spooks. Might have some spooks. We'll find out. Before you take me up to bed, will you tell me a story? Do you actually need me to take you up to bed? I asked the boy. He thought for a moment. Then, with intense seriousness, yes, actually, I think you do. It's because I've finished my homework, and so it's my bedtime, and I'm a bit scared. Not very scared, just a bit. But it's a very big house, and lots of times the lights don't work, and it's sort of dark. Oh. I reached over and tousled his hair. I can understand that, I said. It is a very big old house. He nodded. We were in the kitchen, where it was light and warm. I put down my magazine on the kitchen table. What kind of story would you like me to tell you? Well, he said thoughtfully, I don't think it should be too scary because then when I go up to bed, I'll just be thinking about monsters the whole time. But if it isn't just a little bit scary, then I won't be interested. And you make up scary stories, don't you? I know she says that's what you do. She exaggerates. I write stories, yes. Nothing that's been published yet, though. And I write lots of different kinds of stories. But you do write scary stories? Yes. The boy looked up at me from the shadows by the door, where he was waiting. Do you know any stories about Click Clack the Rattlebag? I don't think so. Those are the best sorts of stories. Do they tell them at your school? He shrugged. Sometimes. What's a Click Clack the Rattlebag story? He was a precocious child and was unimpressed by his sister's boyfriend's ignorance. You could see it on his face. Everybody knows them. I don't, I said, trying not to smile. He looked at me as if he was trying to decide whether or not I was pulling his leg. He said, I think maybe you should take me up to my bedroom and then you can tell me a story before I go to sleep, but a very not scary story because I'll be up in my bedroom then and it's actually a bit dark up there too. I said, shall I leave a note for your sister telling her where we are? You can, but you'll hear when they get back. The front door is very slammy. We walked out of the warm and cozy kitchen into the hallway of the big house, where it was chilly and drafty and dark. I flicked the light switch, but nothing happened. The bulb's gone, the boy said. That always happens. Our eyes adjusted to the shadows. The moon was almost full, and blue-white moon shone in through the high windows on the staircase down into the hall. We'll be all right, I said. Yes, said the boy soberly. I am very glad you're here. He seemed less precocious now. His hand found mine, and he held onto my fingers comfortably, trustingly, as if he'd known me all his life. I felt responsible and adult. I did not know if the feeling I had for his sister, who was my girlfriend, was love. Not yet. But I liked that the child treated me as one of the family. I felt like his big brother, and I stood taller. And if there was something unsettling about the empty house, I would not have admitted it for worlds. Oh no, is there no video? Pause. What's going on? I'm reading the chat. I'm seeing some confusion. Does everybody have video? I'm going to have a sip of my beer. Pause while they go up the stairs. Interlude. You have video. Lauren has video. Just Aisha? Beautiful. All right. And let me know. Sometimes my audio was a little bit glitchy with my last computer, but let me know if things are better now. Clicked on random live video, and it was the same problem. Yeah, weird. Do you have audio at least, Aisha? Because, I mean, you don't really need video for this. I mean, unless you just want to look at my pretty face while I'm doing this. But I mean, this pretty face. That's right. Oh, yeah, she says. Well, if you have audio, I shall keep on going. I trust that you will continue to troubleshoot. All right. The stairs creaked beneath the threadbare stair carpet. Click-clacks, said the boy, are the best monsters ever. Are they from television? I don't think so. I don't think any people know where they come from. Mostly they come from the dark. Oh, excuse me. A good place for a monster to come. Yes. We walked along the upper corridor in the shadows, walking from patch of moonlight to patch of moonlight. It really was a big house. I wished I had a flashlight. They come from the dark, said the boy, holding on to my hand. I think probably they're made of dark, and they come in when you don't pay attention. That's when they come in. And then they take you back to their, oh, not nests. What's the word that's like nests but not? House? No, it's not a house. Lair? He was silent. Then, I think that's the word. Yes, lair. He squeezed my hand. He stopped talking. Right. So they take the people who don't pay attention back to their lair. And what do they do then? You're monsters. Do they suck all the blood out of you like vampires? He snorted. Vampires don't suck all the blood out of you. They only drink a little bit, just to keep them going. And, flying around. Click-clacks are much scarier than vampires. Uh, I'm not scared of vampires, I told him. Me neither. I'm not scared of vampires either. Do you want to know what click-clacks do? They drink you, said the boy. Like Coke? Coke is very bad for you, said the boy. If you put a tooth in Coke in the morning, it'll be dissolved into nothing. That's how bad Coke is for you, and why you must always clean your teeth every night. I'd heard the Coke story as a boy, and had been told as an adult that it wasn't true, but was certain that a lie which promoted dental hygiene was a good lie, and let it pass. Click-clacks drink you, said the boy. First they bite you, and then they go all ishy inside, and all your meat and all your brains and everything except your bones and your skin turns into a wet, milky, shaky stuff, and then the click-clack sucks it out through the nose where your eyes used to be. That's disgusting, I told him. Did you make it up? We reached the last flight of stairs, all the way into the big house. No. I can't believe you kids make up stuff like that. You didn't ask me about the rattlebag, he said. Right. What's the rattlebag? Well, he said sagely, soberly, a small voice from the darkness beside me. Once you're just bones and skin, they hang you up on a hook and you rattle in the wind. So, what do these click-clacks look like? Even as I asked him, I wished I could take the question back and leave it unasked. I thought, huge spidery creatures, like the one in the shower that morning. I'm afraid of spiders. I was relieved when the boy said, They look like what you aren't expecting, what you aren't paying attention to. We were climbing wooden steps now. I held onto the railing on my left, held his hand with my right as he walked beside me. It smelled like dust and old wood, that high in the house. The boy's tread was certain, though, even though the moonlight was scarce. Do you know what story you're going to tell me to put me to bed? He asked. It doesn't actually have to be scary. Not really. Maybe you could tell me about this evening. Tell me what you did? That won't make much of a story for you. My girlfriend just moved into a new place on the edge of town. She inherited it from an aunt or someone. It's very big and very old. I'm going to spend my first night with her tonight, so I've been waiting for an hour or so for her and her housemates to come back with the wine and an Indian takeaway. See? Said the boy. There was that precocious amusement again. But all kids can be insufferable sometimes when they think they know something you don't. It's probably good for them. You know all that, but you don't think. You just let your brain fill the gaps. He pushed open the door to the attic room. It was perfectly dark now, but the opening door disturbed the air, and I heard things rattle gently, like dry bones and thin bags in the slight wind. Click, clack, click, clack, like that. I would have pulled away then if I could, but small, firm fingers pulled me forward, unrelentingly, into the dark. I felt a bit spooked. Not a full spook, but a bit. It was a satisfying spook, you know? So, oh, the Rake. I see you, the Rake, are in the Battle Story Champion submissions chat. Head up to the Justin Reads to Stuff chat. That's where everybody's chatting. Yeah. He got, man. He got. It's a good warm-up spook. Yeah, all right. So let's consult the spookometer. I'm going to give you guys 10 seconds to go down and add spooks. If you were spooked at any point during this story, go down and click on the little skeleton and add to the spookometer of this story. If not, stay where you are. 10 seconds starting now. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Counting for delay and scene. Okay, so we are going to seal that one off at 7 spooks. Okay, Neil Gaiman. Seven spooks. Solid spook rating for Neil Gaiman. It's his first time on the Battle Stories show. So it's a pretty good start. It's a solid start for this Neil Gaiman fellow. You know, especially for his first time. Yeah, so good for him. I'm sure he'd be very proud if he were watching right now. Neil Gaiman, are you watching? I wonder if he's watching. He's probably watching. All right. Let's see. Let's spend this time to enjoy a sip of beer and catch up with the audience. All right. So we got... Oh, you were more confused than spooked. Yeah, what was the plot of that? Okay, so a girl's boyfriend, it's the main character, is looking after his girlfriend's son. And the boy takes him up the stairs. I don't know why I'm telling you. You just go back and listen to it if you're confused. Or read it, better yet. I'm not going to re-explain it. That's hilarious. This is the show where I read something and then I summarize it for people who weren't listening. That sounds like a really redundant show. I'm not going to get into that biz. The redundant biz. The Rake, I don't know if it's something you're doing on purpose or if it's something with your keyboard, but you get a lot of extra letters with your I think you're doing it on purpose, because this is like, I'm picturing Gollum reading this. Monsters tricked him. There is no confusion. Yes. That's great. All right. Hello, the chip beef. Long time no see. Watched the Christmas short stories, but haven't watched since the recent campaign. Hearing it was a sequel. Aye. This was a sequel. Sequel? Yes, this is the sequel to the last Justin Reed's Christmas edition. This sequel is it was just dependent on Harlan being sick, Harlan having a fever specifically, so I was waiting to bust out the sequel. So yeah. All right. Well, I think it's time to grab another short story. Doogie 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 doo. All right, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stories up there. So I'm going to roll a 1d6. And then whoever's number it lands on, I will read their story. Here we go. 1d6 rolling away. Oh, we got a 5. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, it's Bjorn. Creepypasta. The disappearance of Ashley, Kansas. Interesting. Okay. I've never read this one. Let us see whether or not it's good. If it's spooky. If it's spooky. You'll find out once and for all. Okay, so I'm going to repost this story. Bear with me. Oh, I got the link right there. So reposting in the battle story submission. Every story gets one free spook from me, obviously. There we go. And here we are. Is everybody ready? Has everybody got their spook pants on? What do spook pants look like? I'm thinking it's just no pants. It's just you're completely naked from the waist down. Those are spook pants. Whoa! Carly says spookiest thing she can think of is student loans. And I'm going to go ahead and give that a good old spook right away. Right now. There we go. Let's spook that up. Student loans. I would love it if student loans won the battle stories. Hey, Mike, we are chatting up in the Justin Reed's chat. So if you're wondering where the party's at, that's where we are, Mike Kyle. That's where we are. Yes, we are naked, watching you naked. All right. I really love playing crazy people or creatures. I just find it enjoyable. I think I am like crazy, like deep down, and these are opportunities whenever I get a crazy character. those are spook pants. Is that just human skin from the waist down? Oh God, that's brutal. That is so scary. Hey, do they have those pants in blue? Asks Colin Bro. That's hilarious. Okay, yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and read this one. This is the second submission from Bjorn. So let's see how spooky this story is. Bjorn's champion of the battle stories. A creepypasta edition, which is no big surprise because creepypasta's creepy as fuck, so I hear. I've never actually read any creepypasta. Until now. Or maybe I have. I probably have on other streams. The disappearance of Ashley, Kansas. Sometime during the night of August 16th, 1952, the small town of Ashley, Kansas ceased to exist. At 3:28 a.m. on August 17th, 1952, a magnitude 7.9 earthquake was measured by the United States Geological Survey. The earthquake itself was felt throughout the state and most of the Midwest. The epicenter was determined to be directly under Ashley, Kansas. When state law, pardon me, When state law enforcement arrived at what should have been the outskirts of the farming community, they found a smoldering, burning fissure of earth measuring 1,000 yards in length and approximately 500 yards in width. The depth of the fissure was never determined. It's the one drawback for reading with beer. That wasn't in the script. Neither are the burps. After 12 days, the statewide and local search for the missing 679 residents of Ashley, Kansas, was called off by the Kansas state government at 9:15 p.m. on the night of August 29th, 1952. All 679 residents were assumed to be dead. At 2:27 a.m. on August 30th, 1952, a magnitude 7.5 earthquake was measured by the United States Geological Survey. The epicenter was situated under what used to be the location of Ashley, Kansas. When law enforcement investigated at 5:32 a.m., they reported that the fissure in the earth had closed. In the 8 days leading up to the disappearance of the town and its 679 residents, bizarre and unexplainable events were reported by dozens of citizens in Ashley, Kansas, and law enforcement from the surrounding area. On the evening of August 8, 1952, at 7:13 p.m., a resident by the name of Gabriel Jonathan reported a strange sight in the sky above Ashley. The town itself, having no official branch of law enforcement, called into the police station of the neighboring town of Hayes. Gabriel reported what appeared to be a small black opening in the sky. Within the next 15 minutes, the Hayes police station became overwhelmed with dozens of phone calls, all reporting the same phenomenon. The phenomenon was never reported by any neighboring communities. A decision was made to send a trooper to Ashley to investigate the matter the following morning. At 7:54 on the morning of August 9th, 1952, Hayes police officer Alan Mace radioed the Hayes police station. He reported that, despite following the one-way road leading into Ashley, he had become lost. According to his report, the road continued along its normal path, but somehow ended back in Hayes. Officer Mace went on to add that the road never curved or bent in any direction. At 9:15 a.m., 7 of the town's 10 police cars were sent to investigate the situation, and all members of the team came to the same conclusion. The only road leading into Ashley stopped leading into Ashley, but instead led back to Hayes. Phone calls continued to pour into the Hayes police station, all reporting that the black opening in the sky continued to grow in size. All callers were advised to remain inside and to not travel outside unless absolutely necessary. At 8:17 p.m., Mrs. Elaine Cantor reported her neighbors, Mr. and Mrs. Milton, and their 2 children, Jeffrey and Brooke, missing. According to Mrs. Cantor's phone call, the Miltons attempted to leave town in their family car earlier in the evening. They never returned. Law enforcement officials from Hayes never reported the car or individuals coming up the one-way road. At 7:38 a.m. in the morning of August 10th, 1952, phone calls from Ashley into the Hayes police station reported that the town was in total darkness. The sun had never risen. At 10:15 a.m., at the request of Hayes law enforcement, a helicopter from Topeka, Kansas flew over the region in which Ashley, Kansas stood. The town was never observed from air. At 12:43 p.m. on the afternoon of August 11th, 1952, Miss Phoebe Danielewski called into the Hayes police station. She reported that her daughter Erica had begun to have conversations with her father, who died 3 years prior in a drunk driving accident. To add to her concern, Mrs. Danielewski reported that Erica was attempting to go outside into the dark to join them. Over the course of the next 12 hours, a reported 329 phone calls were placed into the Hayes police station, all describing similar phenomena with the children of the town. The following morning of August 12th, 1952, the situation became dire. During the middle of the night, all 217 children in the town of Ashley, Kansas, disappeared. A reported 421 phone calls were placed into the Hayes Police Department. Unable to be of any useful assistance, Hayes law enforcement instructed all callers to remain inside and to avoid any and all attempts at finding the missing children. At 5:19, on the evening of August 13th, 1952, Ashley elderly man Scott Luntz reported a growing, distant fire to the south. According to his description, the fire seemed to turn the distant black into bright red and orange that seemed to extend high into the sky. Throughout the rest of the day, calls continued in, stating that the fire, in addition to moving north, now seemed to come out of the black sky. No fire was ever witnessed by any of the neighboring communities or law enforcement officials. The reports continued until 12:09 a.m. on the morning of August 14th, 1952. The last phone call, placed by a Mr. Benjamin Endicott, reported that the fire in the sky had grown so intense that it began to appear as daytime over the town. The phone call ended abruptly. From the phone call placed between Benjamin Sherman Endicott. "Just hold on. Wait." Continued silence. "Yeah, I see something coming. It's to the south. It looks like..." End phone call. The next phone call wouldn't be placed until the following evening. The following is the entire transcript of the final phone call to be received by the Hayes Police Department out of the town of Ashley, Kansas. It was placed at 9:46 p.m. on the evening of August 15th, 1952. In this recorded phone call, the officer on duty is Officer Peter Welsh. The caller has been identified as Miss April Foster. Begin phone call. "Hayes Police Department." "Hello?" Yes, hello?" Ma'am, who am I speaking with?" "My name is April Foster." "Please, sir, please help me." "What is happening, ma'am?" Last night they came back." "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to..." "Last night they came back." "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to calm down and speak clearly. What happened? Who came back?" "Everyone." "Everyone?" "They all came back in the fire." "What do you mean, everyone?" "My son. I saw my son last night. He was walking. He was walking down the street. He was burned. Jesus Christ, he was burned." "Ma'am, he died last year. I raised him since he was a baby. It was just me and him. I told him to watch for cars when he rode his bike, but he never wanted to listen." "Ma'am, what you're saying isn't making any sense. You said everyone came back?" "Are you fucking listening to me? Everyone came back. Everyone who died or went missing, they're back. And they're looking for us." He said, "Mommy, I'm okay now. See, I can walk again. Where are you, Mommy? I want to see you." "Ma'am, where are you now? Are you safe?" "I'm hiding, just like everyone else. Saw them coming through the fields, and some people opened their doors for them. God was screaming. I don't know what happened to them, but their houses caught fire and they caved in. I have my curtains drawn. I'm hiding in the closet right now, and..." "Ma'am, is everything all right? Are you okay?"
Ma'am? Oh! Oh my God! Glass breaking. Ma'am? Something just came in! Ma'am, stay as quiet as you can. Don't make a sound. Mommy? Mommy? He came inside. Stay absolutely still. Don't leave. Mommy? Mommy? Where are you hiding? Stay quiet. I found you, Mommy! Mom! Mom!
The following morning at 6:55 a.m., the law enforcement officials of the Hayes Police Department arrived at the location of Ashley, Kansas. A smoldering, burning fissure in the earth was all that remained. Whoa. I kind of went over the top with the sound effects there. I'm curious how that turned out. Might have been too much. Okay. It definitely wasn't as loud as I thought it was. That's hilarious. Beautiful. Well then, that was spooky. A diet spook. Just that one spooky wall and door behind you. Yep, that's all there is behind me. Just reading the YouTube videos. Yeah, that was spooky. I definitely got some chills while I was reading that. So I'm going to let the spooks sink in, so to speak. If you're just joining us now, we are over on Discord. You can find the description in the chat. And we've got 2 threads going at the moment, one of which is called Justin Reed Stuff, and that's just our general hangout that we're chilling in. And then there's also the Battle Story Champion Submissions, which that's where everybody's posting their stories that they'd like me to read under 3,000 words. If you haven't posted a story yet, you are more than welcome to. Currently people are voting on the last submission that I just read by, Creepypasta. Creepypasta for you Americans. Pardon me. And it looks like this story has more juice on the spookometer. So I'm going to give 10 more seconds, starting in a couple seconds, for anybody to add their spooks to the last story. So if you felt that this creepypasta story spooked you at any point, it might have been from the story itself, it might have been my narration, it might have been something that you read in the chat. If you felt spooked during that period of me starting to read the story and ending the story, vote on this story in the Battle Story Champion submissions. All right, so I'm going to give a countdown starting now. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All right, and we are capping it off at 11 spooks for creepypasta. Let's see. The disappearance of Ashley, Kansas. Disappearance. Oh, I can't. Right. Great. Congratulations. Oh, well, we got one more comment jumped in. I'm going to sneak that up to 12. because it was a delayed response. The delay in the video. Okay, so 12 spooks on disappearance of Ashley. Wow, that's a spooky story, and it was pretty spooky. I was rather spooked myself. So this is great. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this video, this channel, if you were enjoying this sort of thing. This isn't what we normally do on a Wednesday night. Normally we're playing role-playing games, and we're currently in the middle of Call of Cthulhu Season 2. Which is very much in theme with horror stories. You guys know your horror in this community, so I'm not surprised that the last story got 12 spooks. Beautiful. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next one after I touch in. Oh, we got a new joiner. Apollo N7110, or Apollon, or Apollon. Hello, guys. Been a long-time viewer of Invictus stuff on YouTube, but never joined in a live feed, but looking to be more active in the community. So it's very nice to meet you. Apollo N. Apollon. Very nice to meet you as well. Welcome. Glad you have stepped through the proverbial door of Discord and are joining us tonight. We've got a fantastic community here. Everybody's lovely and just a pleasure to spend time with. So we welcome you with open arms. Welcome to our party. Join us. Do you like beer? I have beer. Please try some of my ignorant farmer. You have to do something with the ignorant farmers, right? I drink them. They call me Click Clack. Hokey Dokey Donkey Day. Let's see. Thanks. Haven't had Discord in 2 years. Invictus is what made finally bite the bullet again. Yeah. It's cool. We're like, our Discord is pretty quiet throughout the week, and then Wednesday hits and boom. People be talking. All right, I'm going to roll the die again. I believe we've got 6 again because there was a new submission. And this is my Justin is figuring out to click on. Number 2. Who has numero 2? So number 1 is the rake. And number 2 is T-Man Master of the Universe wants me to read Lovecraft as Charles. I might do some reading as Charles. I don't even remember what Charles sounds like. He's just an I can't even do it right now. He's just an old man. I don't even remember. Charles. I feel like that's how I said my name. But no, I'm not going to do that right now. So we're going to go to the rake. Okay, we got another creepypasta submission. And this one's called The Bad Dream. Let us see here. Oh, wow, this one's short. Okay. This is a very, very short one. I think it's super short. Maybe I'll find someone. Well, maybe it's time to try one of these SCPs. Because the rake gave me a few options. So I'll do a couple. I'll do both of them because I think they're both pretty short. So, okay, let's do this SCP-106. It's within. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. So I don't know what SCP is. Is that creepypasta? What does SCP stand for? Something creepypasta? Okay, so I've created a new link and I'm adding the first spook onto it. Boom. So this looks almost like a Wikipedia entry. And it looks almost like scientific. This will be interesting. Okay. So yeah, can you guys explain what an SCP entry is? What? Oh, secure, contain, protect. Uh, So perhaps I should read the story. Which story? Was there are a few. So there was one from No Sleep that looked good, but it was about 7,000 words, so that was too long. The Bad Dream looks very short, which I'm cool with doing it, but it is quite short. 1 minute of reading length. All right. I'm going to go ahead and read both. But first, let's do this SCP entry. So, SCP 106. Item number SCP 106. Object class Keter. Special containment procedures. Revision 11.8. No physical interaction with SCP-106 is allowed at any time. All physical interaction must be approved by no less than a 2/3 vote from O5 Command. Any such interaction must be undertaken in AR2 maximum security sites after a general non-essential staff evacuation. All staff, research, security, Class D, etc. are to remain at least 60 meters away from the containment cell at all times, except in the event of breach events. SCP-106 is to be contained in a sealed container comprised of lead-lined steel. The container will be sealed within 40 layers of identical material, each layer separated by no less than 36 centimeters of empty space. Support struts between layers are to be randomly spaced. Container is to remain suspended no less than 60 centimeters from any surface by ELO IID, electromagnetic supports. Secondary containment area is to be comprised of 16 spherical cells, each filled with various fluids and a random assembly of surfaces and supports. Secondary containment is to be fitted with light systems, capable of flooding the entire assembly with no less than 80,000 lumens of light instantly with no direct human involvement. Both containment areas are to remain under 24-hour surveillance. Any corrosion observed on any containment cell surfaces, staff members, or other site locations within 200 meters of SCP-106 are to be reported to site security immediately. Any objects or personnel lost to SCP-106 are to be deemed missing, killed in action. No recovery attempts are to be made under any circumstances. Note: continued research and observation have shown that when faced with highly complex random assemblies of structures, SCP-106 can be confused, showing a marked delay on entry and exit from said structure. SCP-106 has also shown an aversion to direct sudden light. This is not a manifestation in any form of physical damage, but a rapid exit in the pocket dimension generated on solid surfaces. These observations, along with those of lead aversion and liquid confusion, have reduced the general escape incidence by 43%. The primary cells have also been effective in recovery incidents requiring recall protocol redacted. Observation is ongoing. Description: SCP-106 appears to be an elderly humanoid with a general appearance of advanced decomposition. This appearance may vary, but the rotting quality is observed in all forms. SCP-106 is not exceptionally agile and will remain motionless for days at a time, waiting for prey. SCP-106 is also capable of scaling any vertical surface and can remain suspended upside down indefinitely. Where was I? When attacking, SCP-106 will attempt to incapacitate prey by damaging major organs, muscle groups, or tendons, then pull disabled prey into its pocket dimension. SCP-106 appears to prefer human prey items in the 10 to 25 years of age bracket. SCP-106 causes a corrosion effect in all solid matter it touches, engaging a physical breakdown in materials several seconds after contact. This is observed as rusting, rotting, and cracking of materials, and the creation of a black mucus-like substance similar to the material coating SCP-106. This effect is particularly detrimental to living tissues and is assumed to be a pre-digestion action. Corrosion continues for 6 hours after contact, after which the effect appears to burn out. SCP-106 is capable of passing through solid matter, leaving behind a large patch of its corrosive mucus. SCP-106 is able to vanish inside solid matter, entering what is assumed to be a form of pocket dimension. SCP-106 is then able to exit this dimension from any point connected to the initial entry point. Examples: entering the inner wall of a room and exiting the outer wall, entering a wall and exiting from the ceiling. It is unknown if this is the point of origin for SCP-106 or a simple lair created by SCP-106. Limited observations of this pocket dimension has shown it to be comprised mostly of halls and rooms with data expunged entry. This activity can continue for days, with some subjected individuals being released for the express purpose of hunting recapture. Data expunged. Addendum. SCP Review Notes. Due to the exceedingly difficult-to-contain nature of SCP-106, SCP is to be reviewed every 3 months or during a post-breach incident. Physical restraints are impossible, and direct physical damage appears to have no effect on SCP-106. SCP-106, as of date redacted, revolves around basic observation and immediate response. Previous, more proactive special containment procedures have been recalled due to the events of breaches redacted and redacted. Notes on behavior. SCP-106 appears to go through long periods of dormancy, in which it will remain completely motionless for up to 3 hours. 3 months, rather. The cause for this is unknown. However, it has been shown that this appears to be used as a lulling tactic. SCP-106 will emerge from this state in a very agitated state and will attack and abduct staff and cause gross damage to its containment cell and the site at large. Recall protocol. Data expunged. SCP-106 appears to hunt and attack based on desire, not hunger. SCP-106 will attack and collect multiple prey items during a hunting behavior event, keeping many alive in the pocket dimension for extended periods of time. Wow. SCP-106 has no determinable limit, and appears to collect a random number of prey items during an event. The inner dimension accessed by SCP-106 appears to be only accessible by SCP-106. Recording and transmission devices have been shown to still operate inside this dimension, though recordings and transmissions are very degraded. It appears that SCP-106 will play with captured prey, and appears to have full control of time, space, and perception inside this dimension. SCP-106 appears data expunged. Recall protocol redacted. In the event of a breach event by SCP-106, a human within the 10 to 25 years of age bracket will be prepped for recall, with the compromised containment cell being replaced and restored for use. When the cell is ready, the lure subject will be injured, preferably via the breakage of a long bone, such as the femur, or the severing of a major tendon, such as the Achilles tendon. Lure subject will then be placed in a prepped cell, and the sound emitted by said subject will be transmitted over the site public address system. SCP-106 will typically begin to gravitate toward the lure subject within 10 to 15 minutes after hearing the subject. Should SCP-106 not respond to the initial broadcast, additional physical trauma is to be administered to the lure subject at 20-minute intervals until SCP-106 responds. Multiple lure subjects may be used in the case of a major breach event. SCP-106 will typically enter a dormant state after finishing with a lure subject. In addition, subjects may data expunged. Oh. Okay, that gets a spook from me. This is this is interesting. I wasn't thinking I was going to be spooked because it's so informational, you know? Like it's like reading a Wikipedia entry. But it's the imagination of these situations that I think is spooky to me. Like when they say that SCP will sometimes take people into the pocket dimension and play with them, that sounds like that's like story fodder right there. I don't know, is this monster based on something? Does anybody know? Yeah, I wonder what the risk pay, what is that called? What the risk pay is for being a lure subject. It's basically a wiki presented as a collection of supernatural oddities ranging from interesting to downright dangerous. Cool. That's what this is. Yeah. I wouldn't fit the bill. I'm not between 15 or 10 and 25 years of age. My God, they send like 10-year-olds in there? That's fucked. This thing should get out and fuck up that facility. I just got frustrated. Yeah, hazard pay, that's it. You get some mean hazard pay on on that job. Wow, that's funny. We got a couple. We already see the joiners. Oh yeah, 30 Carb, you're new as well. Welcome. Thanks for joining and being a part of this. So let us add to the spookometer for SCP-106 entry. Oh yeah, let's do an 18 plus warning. This is an 18 plus show. Some of these stories are pretty creepy. And there we go. Yeah, so in 10 seconds, I'm going to close off spook voting for SCP-106. Go ahead and leave your spook votes. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1... And done. Okay, it looks like SCP-106 is sitting pretty at 8 spooks. 8 spooks. Sitting in second place currently. Battle stories, yeah. Good stuff. All right. All right, just for kicks, we're not going to do a spookometer on this one, but I'm just going to read a very, very short story that was posted by the same individual who posted SCP-106. Let's see how it goes. It's on Creepypasta. Addie, I had a bad dream. You blink your eyes and pull up on your elbows. Your clock glows red in the darkness. It's 3:23. Do you want to climb into bed and tell me about it? No, Daddy. The oddness of the situation wakes you up more fully. You can barely make out your daughter's pale form in the darkness of your room. Why not, sweetie? Because in my dream, when I told you about the dream, the thing wearing Mommy's skin sat up. For a moment, you feel paralyzed. You can't take your eyes off your daughter. The covers behind you begin to shift. Spooky. That there is a spooky little thingy. That's very like writer's prompt sort of. That one reminds me of I think one that Harlan wrote. Anyways, yeah, that's a good little concept. I like it. Alrighty, let us move on to the next one. All right, I think I've got 4 stories right now that are suggested, so I'm going to go ahead and roll a 1d4. Oh, number 4, and this is going to be Aisha. Aisha Lyle suggests something from Project Gutenberg, the yellow wallpaper. All right, let us read it online. There we go. The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. Ooh, but how long is this one, Aisha? This one looks... Oh, never mind. It's not as long. Let's see. Just going to check word count. Make sure it's not over our agreed upon amount. 6,000 words, Aisha. I can't read that. That's like 40 minutes. Oh, dear. I would love to read this one, but maybe this is one we'll save for another day, Aisha. One that I'll just do. It won't be a battling books. If you've got another suggestion, though, that's a little bit shorter. I know you were suggesting... Let's see. Aisha did suggest something on Facebook. A couple on Facebook. What is Dear David? Unholy. Yeah, the yellow wallpaper. That's the first one. What do you put? Oh, there's a bunch of stuff at the bottom that isn't the story? Yeah. Yeah, I see that. It's in like Courier font. Yeah, still 6,000 wordios. The yellow wallpaper. Okay, so I'm going to have to bookmark this one. I'm definitely going to save this one for a later date. Horror Night. It is good. Let's... Or what we could do... Justin, I will gladly sip on my Jameson and Coke while you sip your beer. Wouldn't you know, in the middle of you reading comments, you got a phone call. Oh, popular. Yeah, you know what? Why don't we save this one? We'll save this one for a little bit. We're going to do... I'm just going to jump. Yeah, I'll save it for the end of the stream if there's time. I'll blow through the other ones that are... Well, not blow through. I will read the other ones and get the scariness, the spookiness that are still prevalent in them. Well, who else is there? There's... Okay, so I have to read like Charles. We've got Lauren Klein, who wants Hop Frog by Edgar Allan Poe. Okay. And we've got one from Mike Kyle. And we've got one from Michael and Brianna. Okay, so I'm just going to... Oh, and I see Colin Burkhardt has one too. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just start reading from the top of the list, because we might as well. We've got the time. So let's do Hop Frog. And this will be interesting. So all of these stories have slightly different vibes. And I guess like the tricky thing is like when it comes to voting on these stories is that like Edgar Allan Poe spook is going to be very different from a Neil Gaiman spook, or a creepypasta spook. But are we able to get to a point where we are receptive to the spookiness of the classical authors? Beautiful. Okay. So this one is a little bit over 3,000, but not much. Only 600 words over. So that'll just be a few minutes longer. This was posted by Lauren Klein. And we're going to make this happen. I haven't read much Poe. Whoa, 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 whoa. Informal competition? Informal? There's nothing informal about this. This is battle stories. Serious battle stories. We're professionals and we're formal as fuck. 18 plus. Because I said fuck. Serious business. All right, here we go. Pardon-moi. Hopfrog by Edgar Allan Poe, published 1845. I never knew anyone so keenly alive to a joke as the king was. He seemed to live only for joking. To tell a good story of the joke kind, and to tell it when, was the surest road to this favor. Thus it happened that his 7 ministers were all noted for their accomplishments as jokers. They all took after the king, too, in being large, corpulent, oily men, as well as inimitable jokers. Whether people grow fat by joking, or whether there is something in fat itself which predisposes to a joke, I've never been able quite to determine. But certain it is that a lean joker is a rara avis in terris. About the refinements, or, as he called them, the ghost of wit, the king troubled himself very little. He had an especial admiration for breadth in a jest, and would often put up with length for the sake of it. Over niceties wearied him. He would have preferred Rabelais' Gargantua in the Zadig of Voltaire to the Zadig of Voltaire, and, upon the whole, practical jokes suited his taste far better than verbal ones. At the date of my narrative, professing jesters had not altogether gone out of fashion at court. Several of the great continental powers still retained their fools, who wore motley with caps and bells, and who were expected to be always ready with sharp witticisms at a moment's notice, in consideration of the crumbs that fell from the royal table. Our king, as a matter of course, retained his fool. The fact is, he required something in the way of folly, if only to counterbalance the heavy wisdom of the 7 wise men who were his ministers, not to mention himself. His fool, or professional jester, was not only a fool, however. I'm sorry, I just looked over at that Fred Arneson on the drums. That's so good. I gotta minimize that. That's too funny. Yeah. His fool, or professional jester, was not only a fool, however. His value was trebled in the eyes of the king by the fact of his being also a dwarf and a cripple. Dwarfs were as common at the court in those days as fools, and many monarchs would have found it difficult to get through their days. Days are rather longer at court than elsewhere, without both a jester to laugh with and a dwarf to laugh at. But as I have already observed, your jesters, in 99 cases out of 100, are fat, round, and unwieldy. So that it was no small source of self-gratulation with our king that in Hopfrog, this was the fool's name, he possessed a triplicate treasure in one person. I believe the name Hopfrog was not that given to the dwarf by his sponsors at baptism, but it was conferred upon him by general consent of the several ministers, on account of his inability to walk as other men do. In fact, Hopfrog could only get along by a sort of interjectional gait, something between a leap and a wriggle, a movement that afforded illimitable amusement, and of course consolation to the king, for, notwithstanding the protuberance of his stomach and a constitutional swelling of the head, the king, by his whole court, was accounted a capital figure. But although Hopfrog, through the distortion of his legs, could move only with great pain and difficulty along a road or floor, the prodigious muscular power which nature seemed to have bestowed upon his arms by way of compensation for deficiency in the lower limbs enabled him to perform many feats of wonderful dexterity, where trees or ropes were in question, or anything else to climb. At such exercises, he certainly much more resembled a squirrel, or a small monkey than a frog. I am not able to say with precision from what country Hopfrog originally came. It was from some barbarous region, however, that no person ever heard of. A vast distance that from court of our king. Hopfrog and a young girl, very little less dwarfish than himself, although of exquisite proportions and a marvelous dancer, had been forcibly carried off from their respective homes in adjoining provinces and sent as presents to the king by one of his ever-victorious generals. Under these circumstances, it is not to be wondered at that a close intimacy arose between the two little captives. Indeed, they soon became sworn friends. Hopfrog, who, although he made a great deal of sport, was by no means popular, had it not in his power to render Trippetta many services, but she, on account of her grace and exquisite beauty, although a dwarf, was universally admired and petted. So she possessed much influence, and never failed to use it, whenever she could, for the benefit of Hopfrog. On some grand state occasion, I forgot what, the king determined to have a masquerade, and whenever a masquerade or anything of that kind occurred at our court, then the talents, both of Hopfrog and Trippetta, were sure to be called into play. Hopfrog, in especial, was so inventive in the way of getting up pageants, suggestive novel characters, and arranging costumes for masked balls, that nothing could be done, it seems, without his assistance. The night appointed for the fete had arrived. A gorgeous hall had been fitted up, under Trippetta's eye, with every kind of device which could possibly give éclat to the masquerade. The whole court was in a fever of expectation. As for costumes and characters, it might well be supposed that everybody had come to a decision on such points. Many had made up their minds as to what roles they should assume a week or even a month in advance, and, in fact, there was not a particle of indecision anywhere, except in the case of the king and his 7 ministers. Why they hesitated, I could never tell, unless they did it by way of a joke. More probably, they found it difficult, on account of being so fat, to make up their minds. At all events, time flew, and as a last resort, they sent for Trippetta and Hopfrog. When the 2 little friends obeyed the summons of the king, they found him sitting at his wine with the 7 members of his cabinet council, but the monarch appeared to be in a very ill humor. He knew that Hopfrog was not fond of wine, for it excited the poor cripple almost to madness, and madness is no comfortable feeling. But the king loved his practical jokes, and took pleasure in forcing Hopfrog to drink and, as the king called it, to be merry. "Come here, Hopfrog," he said, as the jester and his friend entered the room. "Swallow this bumper to the health of your absent friends." Here Hopfrog sighed.
And then let us have the benefit of your invention. We want characters. Characters, man. Something novel, out of the way. We are wearied with this everlasting sameness. Come, drink. The wine will brighten your wits.
Hop Frog endeavored as usual to get up a jest and reply to these advances from the king, but the effort was too much. It happened to be the poor dwarf's birthday, and the command to drink to his absent friends forced the tears to his eyes. Many large, bitter drops fell into the goblet as he took it, humbly, from the hand of the tyrant.
Ha, ha, ha,
roared the latter, as the dwarf reluctantly drained the beaker.
See what a good glass of wine can do. Why, your eyes are shining already.
Poor fellow! His large eyes gleamed rather than shone, for the effect of wine on his excitable brain was not more powerful than instantaneous. He placed the goblet nervously on the table and looked round upon the company with a half-insane stare. They all seemed highly amused at the success of the king's joke.
And now to business,
said the prime minister, a very fat man.
Yes, said the king. Come, lend us your assistance. Characters, my fine fellow. We stand in need of characters, all of us. And as this was seriously meant for a joke, his laugh was chorused by the seven. Hop Frog also laughed, although feebly and somewhat vacantly. Come, come, said the king impatiently. Have you nothing to suggest?
I am endeavoring to think of something novel, replied the dwarf abstractedly, for he was quite bewildered by the wine.
Endeavoring? Cried the tyrant fiercely. What do you mean by that? Ah, I perceive. You are sulky and want more wine. Here, drink this.
And he poured out another goblet full and offered it to the cripple, who merely gazed at it, gasping for breath.
Drink, I say, shouted the monster, or by the fiends.
The dwarf hesitated. The king grew purple with rage. The courtiers smirked. Trippetta, pale as a corpse, advanced to the monarch's seat, and, falling on her knees before him, implored him to spare her friend. The tyrant regarded her for some moments, in evident wonder at her audacity. He seemed quite at a loss what to do or say, how most becomingly to express his indignation. At last, without uttering a syllable, he pushed her violently from her and threw the contents of the brimming goblet in her face. The poor girl got up the best she could, and, not daring even to sigh, resumed her position at the foot of the table. There was a dead silence for about half a minute, during which the falling of a leaf or of a feather might have been heard. It was interrupted by a low but harsh and protracted grating sound which seemed to come at once from every corner of the room.
What are you making that noise for? Demanded the king, turning furiously to the dwarf.
The latter seemed to have recovered, in great measure, from his intoxication, and looking fixedly but quietly into the tyrant's face, merely ejaculated, I? How could it have been me?
The sound appeared to come from without, observed one of the courtiers. I fancy it was the parrot at the window wetting his bill upon his cage wires. True, replied the monarch, as if much relieved by the suggestion. But on the honor of a knight, I could have sworn that it was the gritting of this vagabond's teeth.
Hereupon the dwarf laughed. The king was too confirmed a joker to object to anyone's laughing, and displayed a set of large, powerful, and very repulsive teeth. Moreover, he avowed his perfect willingness to swallow as much wine as desired. The monarch was pacified, and having drained another bumper with no very perceptible ill effect, Hop Frog entered at once,
and with spirit into the plans for the masquerade. "I cannot tell what was the association of idea," observed he, very tranquilly, and as if he had never tasted wine in his life. "But just after your majesty had struck the girl and thrown the wine in her face, just after your majesty had done this, and while the parrot was making that odd noise outside the window, there came into my mind a capital diversion, one of my own country frolics, often enacted upon us at our masquerades, but here it will be new altogether. Unfortunately, however, it requires a company of 8 persons, and—" "Here we are!" cried the king, laughing at his acute discovery of the coincidence. "8 to a fraction! I and my 7 ministers. Come, what is this diversion?"
"We call it," replied the cripple, "the 8-chained orang-utans, and it really is excellent sport if well enacted."
"We will enact it," remarked the king, drawing himself up and lowering his eyelids.
"The beauty of the game," continued Hop Frog, "lies in the fright it occasions among the women."
"Capital!" roared the chorus, the monarch and his ministry.
"I will equip you as orang-utangs," proceeded the dwarf. "Leave all that to me. Resemblance shall be so striking that the company of masqueraders will take you for real beasts, and, of course, they will be as much terrified as astonished."
Oh, this is exquisite," exclaimed the king. "Hop Frog, I will make a man of you."
"The chains are for the purpose of increasing the confusion by their jangling. You are supposed to have escaped en masse from your keepers. Your majesty cannot conceive of the effect produced at the masquerade by 8-chained orang-utangs, imagined to be real ones by most of the company, and rushing in with savage cries among the crowd of delicately and gorgeously habited men and women. The contrast is inimitable."
"It must be," said the king,
and the council arose hurriedly, as it was growing late, to put in execution the scheme of Hop Frog. His mode of equipping the party as orang-utangs was very simple, but effective enough for his purposes. The animals in question had, at the epoch of my story, or at the epoch of my story, very rarely been seen in any part of the civilized world, and as the imitations made by the dwarf were sufficiently beast-like and more than sufficiently hideous, their truthfulness to nature was thus thought to be secured. The kings and his ministers were first encased in tight-fitting stockinette shirts and drawers. They were then saturated with tar. At this stage of the process, someone of the party suggested feathers, but the suggestion was at once overruled by the dwarf, who soon convinced the 8 by ocular demonstration that the hair of such a brute as the orang-utang was much more effectively presented by flax. A thin coating of the latter was accordingly plastered upon the coating of tar. A long chain was now procured. First it was passed about the waist of the king and tied, and then another of the party and also tied. Then about all successively in the same manner. When this chaining arrangement was completed, and the party stood as far apart from each other as possible, they formed a circle. And to make all things appear natural, Hop Frog passed the residue of the chain in 2 diameters at right angles across the circle, after the fashion adopted at the present day by those who capture chimpanzees and other large apes in Borneo. The grand saloon in which the masquerade was to take place was a circular room, very lofty, and receiving the light of the sun only through a single window at top. At night, the season for which the apartment was especially designed, it was illuminated principally by a large chandelier, depending by a chain from the center of the skylight, and lowered or elevated by means of a counterbalance as usual. But, in order not to look unsightly, this latter passed outside the cupola and over the roof. The arrangements of the room had been left to Trippetta's superintendence, but in some particulars it seems she had been guided by the calmer judgment of her friend the dwarf. At his suggestion, it was that, on this occasion, the chandelier was removed. Its waxen drippings, which in weather so warm it was quite impossible to prevent, would have been seriously detrimental to the rich dresses of the guests, who, on account of the crowded state of the saloon, could not be expected to keep from out its center, that is to say, from under the chandelier. Additional sconces were set in various parts of the hall out of the war, and a flambeau, emitting sweet odor, was placed in the right hand of each of the caryatides that stood against the wall, some 50 or 60 altogether. The 8 orangutans, taking Hop Frog's advice, waited patiently until midnight, when the room was thoroughly filled with masqueraders, before making their appearance. No sooner had the clock ceased striking, however, than they rushed, or rather rolled in, altogether, for the impediments of their chains caused more of the party to fall, and all stumble as they entered. The excitement among the masqueraders was prodigious, and filled the heart of the king with glee. As had been anticipated, there were not a few of the guests who supposed the ferocious-looking creatures to be beasts of some kind in reality, if not precisely orangutans. Many of the women swooned with affright, and had not the king taken the precaution to exclude all weapons from the saloon, his party might soon have expiated their frolic in their blood. As it was, a general rush was made for the doors, but the king had ordered them to be locked immediately upon his entrance, and at the dwarf's suggestion, the keys had been deposited with him. While the tumult was at its height, and each masquerader attentive only to his own safety, for in fact there was much real danger from the pressure of the excited crowd, the chain by which the chandelier ordinarily hung, and which had been drawn upon its removal, might have been seen very gradually to descend, until its hooked extremities came within 3 feet of the floor. Soon after this, the king and his 7 friends, having reeled about the hall in all directions, found themselves at length in its center, and of course in immediate contact with the chain. While they were thus situated, the dwarf, who had followed noiselessly at their heels, inciting them to keep up the commotion, took hold of their own chain, at the intersection of the 2 portions which crossed the circle diametrically and at right angles. Here, with the rapidity of thought, he inserted the hook from which the chandelier had been wont to depend, and in an instant, by some unseen agency, the chandelier chain was drawn so far upward as to take the hook out of reach, and, as an inevitable consequence, to drag the orangutans together in close connection and face to face. The masqueraders by this time had recovered in some measure from their alarm, and beginning to regard the whole matter as a well-contrived pleasantry, set up a loud shout of laughter at the predicament of the apes. "Leave them to me!" now screamed Hop Frog, his shrill voice making itself easily heard through all the din. "Leave them to me! I fancy I know them. If I can only get a good look at them, I can soon tell who they are." Here, scrambling over the heads of the crowd, he managed to get to the wall. When seizing a flambeau from one of the caryatides, he returned as well as he went to the center of the room, leaping with the agility of a monkey upon the king's head, and thence clambered a few feet up the chain, holding down the torch to examine the group of orangutans, and still screaming, "I shall soon find out who they are!" And now, while the whole assembly, the apes included, were convulsed with laughter, the jester suddenly uttered a shrill whistle. When the chain flew violently up for about 30 feet, dragging with it the dismayed and struggling orangutans, and leaving them suspended in mid-air between the skylight and the floor. Hop Frog, clinging to the chain as it rose, still maintained his relative position in respect to the 8 maskers, and still, if nothing were the matter, continued to thrust his torch down toward them, as though endeavoring to discover who they were. So thoroughly astonished was the whole company at the ascent, that a deadly silence of about a minute's duration ensued. It was broken by just such a low, harsh, grating sound as had before attracted the attention of the king and his counselors when the former threw the wine in the face of Trippetta. But on the present occasion, there could be no question as to whence the sound issued. It came from the fang-like teeth of the dwarf, who ground and gnashed them as he foamed at the mouth and glared with an expression of maniacal rage into the upturned countenances of the king and his 7 companions. "Aha!" said the length of the infuriated jester. "Aha! I begin to see who these people are now." Here, pretending to scrutinize the king more closely, he held the flambeau to the flaxen coat which enveloped him, and which instantly burst into the sheet of vivid flame. In less than half a minute, the whole 8 orangutans were blazing fiercely, amid the shrieks of the multitude who gazed at them from below, horror-stricken, and without the power to render them the slightest assistance. At length, the flames suddenly increased in virulence, forced the jester to climb higher up the chain to be out of their reach, and as he made this movement, the crowd again sank, for a brief instant, into silence. The dwarf seized his opportunity and once more spoke. "I now see distinctly," he said, "what manner of people these maskers are. They are a great king and his 7 privy councillors. A king who does not scruple to strike a defenseless girl, and his 7 councillors who abet him in outrage. As for myself, I am simply Hopfrog, the jester. And this is my last jest." Owing to the high combustibility of both the flax and the tar to which it adhered, the dwarf had scarcely made an end of his brief speech before the work of vengeance was complete. The 8 corpses swung in their chains, a fetid, blacked, hideous, and indistinguishable mass. The cripple hurled his torch at them, clambered leisurely to the ceiling, and disappeared through the skylight. It is supposed that Trippetta, stationed on the roof of the saloon, had been the accomplice of her friend in his fiery revenge, and that, together, they effected their escape to their own country, for neither was seen again. Dun, 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 dun. And there you have it. Hopfrog, Edgar Allan Poe. Yeah, it's that was interesting. That was cool. I like that. It had a satisfying revenge twinge to it. I'm not sure if I felt spooked at any point. And I think I wasn't spooked because I wanted it to happen. You're not sure what happened. Okay, so basically the dwarf jester hit a breaking point. The king was such an asshole that the dwarf was like, okay, fuck it. I'm going to fuck you up. So the king was trying to think of this like big joke that he wanted to play for the masquerade. And so the dwarf was like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to dress you up as these creatures that you've never seen before. And we're going to make you like make the audience think that you're all these scary fucking creatures. And then it's all going to be a big joke. And we're going to coat you in tar and flax to make you look convincing like these creatures. And then he succeeds in doing that. And then they are all having a laugh or whatever. The audience is scared and then they laugh. And then he hooks all of the king and his counselors together on a chandelier and then raises the chandelier up into the sky, climbs up the rope, and with a torch, he basically says, I see who you are now. You're a fucking bastard, you bastard king. I fucking hate your guts. You've done horrible things to me and Trippetta, and this is how I'm going to get my revenge. And then because tar and flax is very flammable, the chandelier takes flame, and the king is no more. So then the dude escapes. Yeah. And then lives happily ever after.
Yeah, there's like, but again, this is kind of a yeah. Did my explanation not clarify everything? The king and his counselors and the costumes. Yes, it was the king and the counselors. They weren't actual orangutans. It was all a random joke. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I think it was cool. I think that Edgar Allan Poe, I'd never really given him a chance, and I think I'm going to read more of that because it was definitely well written and it had a good arc to it. I'm pretty impressed by some of his sentence structures. Like they just like listen to I think it's this one. The 8 orangutans, taking Hopfrog's advice, waited patiently until midnight when the room was thoroughly filled with masqueraders before making their appearance. Oh no, that one wasn't so bad. Maybe it was this one. While the tumult was at its height, and each masquerader attentive only to his safety, for in fact there was much real danger from the pressure of the excited crowd, the chain was by which the chandelier ordinarily hung, and which had been drawn up on its removal, might have been seen very gradually to descend until its hooked extremity came within 3 feet of the floor. Yowza. There's a run-on sentence. Yes. All right, battle stories. Yeah, let's vote. So it's still getting a spook from me. I get a natural spook. We're currently sitting at 6 spooks for Hopfrog by Edgar Allan Poe. Go ahead, send your spooks in. I'm gonna count down from 10. Starting now. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, so Hopfrog is sitting at 8 spooks. It's a solid spook rating. Solid spook rating for Hopfrog. Or, yeah. Eight spooks. Tied for second place with SCP-106. Good stuff. Yeah, I like that. Do you read a lot of Edgar Allan Poe, Lauren? Have you read much of this stuff? Yeah, I'd never heard of this one. I definitely liked it though. It's a good challenge for narrating because there's a lot of words that I do not know. But also, like, I kind of shy away from a lot of these 19th century authors because, like, I feel like their work isn't as accessible, but I had no problem understanding that. You can get his complete works for very cheap. Yeah, actually, I've been collecting compendiums and stuff. I got, like, H.P. Lovecraft's stuff. I remember last time we were talking about a different author that you guys wanted me to read, but I can't remember who it was. Another kind of creepy author. But anyways, besides the point, that is beside the point. I'm going to go on to the next story. Okay, so my voice is getting a little raw, so I don't want to push myself too hard. So I'm going to save the yellow wallpaper because that's about 40 minutes of straight narration. Which would be a little bit much for me right now. So I'm going to, I've got that one saved, and we're going to do that one a different day. Let's see, in the vault by, oh, yeah, we got that. Okay, we got some more SCP entries. Okay, from Colin Burkhart. And all 3 of these are 3 stories, but they're all part of the same story.
SCP-860, document A60, and 860I and 2. 861 and 2. Okay, it's all Roman numerals. And then 863 and 4. Oh, perfect. Okay. Here we go. You ready for another SCP entry? SCP Foundation. Battle stories. Oh, actually, I should post this. Battle stories. Voila! All right, here we go. SCP-860. Item number, SCP-860. Object class, safe. Special containment procedures. SCP-860 is to be contained in a small wooden box in a vault at Sector Redacted. By itself, the third is inert, and no further containment procedures are needed. Description: SCP-860 is a dark blue key of unremarkable shape. At seemingly random intervals of time, a series of numbers later found to be UTM coordinates will appear on the key's blade. In the time SCP-860 has spent under containment, the numbers have changed 3 times, giving the coordinates for Redacted Germany, Redacted England, and Site Redacted. SCP-860 can fit in any door lock that requires a key located in the area of the given coordinates, and will function identically to the correct key for that lock. SCP-860 only works on door locks, and only if they are attached to a door. It will not work on any other type of locking device. When SCP-860 is used to unlock and open a door, the door does not lead to its usual destination. Instead, it opens into a small forest clearing centered on an 80-centimeter wide footpath designated SCP-860-1. Every observation of this grove has noted the presence of blue-colored mist. As soon as any person enters SCP-860-1, the door automatically closes. From inside SCP-860-1, the door appears attached to an infinite concrete wall and is locked. No attempts to break the door from outside with personnel inside SCP-861 have been successful. Attempts to break the door from inside SCP-861 have resulted in redacted. See document 863 for more details. The trail inside SCP-861 usually leads to another door attached to another infinite concrete wall. The second door leads to the normal destination room of the door on which SCP-860 was used. A number of other anomalous events have been reported by personnel conducting explorations of SCP-861. These are explained in more detail in documents 861 through 864. Following the events of Exploration 4, described in document 864, only Level 4 personnel may perform tests on SCP-860. Incident 860 redacted 12 on redacted days after Exploration 4, SCP-860 was found on Dr. Redacted Office's table. Redacted's office table. Redacted M from its containment unit. The item's containment locker had not been opened. Video surveillance from Redacted AM shows the key suddenly materializing on top of the table. It is currently unknown how or why SCP-860 was moved. This incident had a profound effect on Dr. Redacted. Psychiatric evaluation is recommended. Addendum. Below are the transcripts of Explorations 1 and 4. Level 2 personnel and above may access documents 861 and 2. Only level 4 personnel and above may access document 863 and 4. I'm just going to check something quick. SCP-860 is a dark blue key of all right. Document 861 and 2. Below are the transcripts of Exploration 1 and 2 into SCP-861. Exploration 1 realized on redacted. Exploration 2 realized on redacted. Exploration 1. D3456 is a 31-year-old Caucasian male of average build. Psychological background is unremarkable. Class D designation is the result of a demotion due to data expunged. D3456 is equipped with an LED flashlight, a handheld camcorder fitted with a transmission stream, and an audio headset for communication with Dr. Redacted at control. D3456 inserts SCP-860 in the door leading to an abandoned house on Redacted Street, Redacted, Germany. He turns the key and opens the door, revealing SCP-861. D3456 staggers. Dr. Redacted. Please proceed. Henceforth, Dr. Redacted will be known as Dr. Blank. D3456 hesitates, then passes through the door. After he takes 2 steps, a loud bang is heard. D3456 turns quickly. The door is closed and attached to a large concrete wall. D3456 moves towards it and attempts to turn the knob. D3456. Blank, this is locked. How the hell am I supposed to... Dr. Blank. Please follow the trail, D3456. The exit should be on the other side. D3456 sighs, then turns around and walks down the trail. After walking 64 meters, D3456 stops. Did you hear that? No sound came through the audio feed. It sounded like a howl or something. It came from the woods, seemed far away. A howl? Like a wolf? Not exactly. Sounded weird. Distorted. Please proceed down the trail. D3456 starts walking again with increased speed. After 43 meters, the mist starts to thicken and acquire a deeper shade of blue. D3456. It's starting to get real hard to see here. This redacted flashlight isn't... D3456 suddenly starts to turn around. Blank! Did you hear it now? Nothing came through the audio feed, D3456. What did you hear? The same thing as before. Closer. How didn't you hear it? It was... Please continue to follow the trail, D3456. No, you don't get it. A loud roar can be heard coming from D3456's left. D3456 screams and starts running down the trail. Every 10 seconds, the sound of steps coming from behind D3456 can be heard, starting off distant and increasing in volume until they appear to be less than 1 meter from D3456, at which point they stop. After running 68 more meters, the D3456 reaches a large concrete wall with a door in it. D3456 kicks open the door, revealing the main hall of the abandoned house. D3456 enters, returning around and closes the door. 2 minutes later, he opens the door again, revealing Redacted Street. D3456 shows extreme paranoia for the following weeks, claiming to hear the same howl in the distance when alone. Effects seemed to fade after blank weeks. D3456 now behaves normally. Close analysis of the audio feed revealed that a very low sound could be heard the second time D3456 stopped. The sound file containing the amplified sound can be found here. I just listened to it. There you go. Exploration 2. D5674 is a 27-year-old South Asian female of below average physical fitness. Psychological background indicates extreme xenophobia. Subject has an extensive record of data expunged. D5674 is equipped with an LED flashlight, a handheld camcorder fitted with a transmission stream, and an audio headset for communication with Dr. Blank at control. D5674 inserts SCP-860 in the door leading to an abandoned house on Blank Street, Blank, Germany. She turns the key and opens the door, revealing SCP-861. D5674 passes through the door. After she takes 2 steps, a loud bang is heard. D5674 turns. The door is closed and attached to a large concrete wall. D5674, expletive redacted. Dr. Blank. Follow the trail, D5674. The exit is on the other side. D5674 turns around and walks down the trail. After 94 meters, D5674 stops and turns to the woods. D5674. Did you see that? Dr. Blank. What? D5674. Did you see those? Yes. D5674 is silent. What did you see? D5674 does not respond. 12 seconds later, she resumes walking down the trail. D564674, please report what you saw. We need... It was nothing. Mist must have tricked me. D5674 walks for 10 more meters before stopping again. D5674, why did you stop? Silence. Can you hear it? What? It's calling me. I have to go. D5674, you can't. D5674 removes the headset and puts the camera on the ground, facing the trees. She proceeds to walk off the trail into the woods until she disappears from sight. Nothing more happens until the camera's batteries run down. Addendum. The door leading to the abandoned house remains closed. Attempts to remove the key from the lock failed, as did all attempts to open or break the door. 7 months after the incident, the door suddenly opened and discharged a very old Asian woman. When questioned, she affirmed herself to be D5674. She refused to elaborate on what happened after she left the camera on the ground, ever under extreme pressure. Subject was found to be much calmer and more polite than before Exploration 2, and apart from talking about what occurred to her inside SCP-861, followed every war order issued to her without complaints. 2 weeks later, she died in her sleep of natural causes. Document 863 and 4. Below are the transcripts of Exploration 3 and 4 into SCP-861. Exploration 3 realized on redacted. Exploration 4 realized on redacted. Exploration 3. D2562 is a 35-year-old Caucasian male of strong build. Psychological background indicates data expunged. Subject shows a record of violent behavior under pressure and is responsible for the murder of redacted people. D2562 is equipped with an LED flashlight, a handheld camcorder fitted with a transmission stream, an audio headset for communication with Dr. Blank at control, and a fire axe. D2562 inserts SCP-860 in the door leading to the house of Mr. Blank, located on Blank Street, Blank, England. He turns the key and opens the door, revealing SCP-861. D2562 hesitates, then proceeds through the door. After he takes 2 steps, a loud bang is heard. D2562 turns. The door is closed and attached to a large concrete wall. D2562. Now, what? Dr. Blank, please use the axe provided to try to destroy the door. Oh, you sure? Please do as instructed. D2562 places the camera on the ground, facing himself and the wall, and proceeds to hit the door with the axe. He hits the door 4 times before quickly turning around. Did you hear that? No sound came through the audio feed. It was a loud roar, man. How could you not? Please calm down and proceed with your task. D2562 keeps looking at the woods. D2562, please remember our agreement. If you don't follow our instructions... Yeah, I know that. It's just... Okay, no problem. D2562 resumes his attempts at destroying the door. After he has hit the door twice, a small piece of wood breaks off. Seemingly encouraged by this, D2562 proceeds to hit the door harder. After 9 blows, an extremely loud roar is heard. D2562 screams and starts swinging the axe in the direction of the camera. A large, redacted, paw appears in front of the lens. 2562 charges and data expunged. The sounds of data expunged could be heard for data expunged hours after that, long after the camera batteries ran out, and showed no signs of stopping. Dr. Blank decided to cut the audio feed after redacted hours. Exploration 4. Redacted, from now on referred to as Subject 1, is a 41-year-old African-American male of average build. Psychological background shows no abnormalities. Subject volunteered for the exploration. Subject 1 is equipped with an LED flashlight, a handheld camcorder fitted with a transmission stream, and an audio headset for communication with Dr. Blank at control. Subject 1 inserts SCP-860 into the door, leading into an empty room in Site Blank. He turns the key and opens the door, revealing SCP-861. Subject 1 proceeds through the door. After he takes 2 steps, a loud bang is heard. Subject 1. The door is just closed, no? Dr. Blank. Yes. Please follow the trail. The exit will be on the other side. Subject 1 proceeds to walk down the trail. The grove shows no notable differences from previous explorations. The mist has acquired a slight red hue, and incomprehensible murmurs are heard through the audio feed, although Subject 1 seems unaware of them. Subject 1 walks for 123 meters. This seems different from what you described, Doc. It's giving me the... Wait. What the hell? Subject stops. In front of him, the trail forks into 2 paths, one of which is made of cobblestones. Doc, which way should I go? This is new. We haven't seen it manifest like this before. Well, I guess I'll... Oh! Subject 1 turns around. The trail has disappeared. Thousands of trees have replaced it. The mist suddenly turns, data expunged, and the murmurs increase in volume. Doc! What the is going on here? What is this noise? Please, calm down and proceed down the cobblestone trail. I'm not a guinea pig, Doc. Just because I volunteered, I don't... Oh my God! What? Respond. What do you see? Subject 1 starts screaming and proceeds to run through the cobblestone path. The murmurs suddenly cease, and only Subject 1's screams can be heard. He runs 143 meters before the camera suddenly thrown into the ground. Subject 1's screams cease. The camera is turned towards the woods. The mist is now thick enough to block sight completely beyond 2 meters. Subject 1, do you hear me? Data expunged. Subject 1. Data expunged. Oh, God. There is no further response from Subject 1. 3 seconds before the camera battery ran out, a very low noise was heard. Analysis of the video feed showed 2 glowing yellow spheres for 1 frame in the last second of the video. The sound was later amplified. It can be heard here. Suggestion of Dr. Blank. The sound was reversed. The modified file can be heard here. Yep, that gets a spook from me. Oh, I haven't spooked it yet. Yeah, there you go. That is SCP-860. Cool little effects at the end there. I like that. Yeah, so go ahead and put in your votes for SCP-860 if you like that one. Or if you felt spooks at any point during it. Yeah, that's the important thing. Did you get a chill? Was it from the book? Was it from the reading? Was it from something that happened in the chat? Don't matter, as long as you got a spook in that experience. All right. So I see Apollon7110 has posted a story. Oh, a different sort of story. Oh, okay. Gotcha. And it is the story of Apollon and why he may be the greatest Greek god of all time. Whoa. We should do like a Greek mythology night. Read Ovid's Metamorphosis and stuff like that. There's some cool stories in that. Hey, we got a new joiner. Big, huge Invictus welcome to Weenie Todd. Welcome, Weenie. Hey, we're hanging out down in the Justin Reed stuff thread. Yeah, all right. So I'm going to give you guys 10 seconds to throw in your final votes down in the Battle Story Champion Submissions thread. And this is for SCP-860. SCP-860. Yeah. So just add your spook votes. If you found that one scary, then or spooky at any point, then give it a spook. All right, here's the countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. Well, looks like we're everything's tied for 8. 8 spooks again. 8 spooks on SCP-860. Dopity dope. This is how it is done. Yes, welcome, Weenie. Have you guys ever considered streaming Sunless Seas, Sunless Skies? I don't know if Harlan's ever done that one. He might have streamed it at one point. With all the reading and role-playing, it's perfect for these sick days. Also, it's very eldritch. I've seen that game. I've been curious about it. I haven't actually investigated it yet. So, yeah, I might check it out one day now that you mention it. I'm excited for a new game that I got I upgraded my computer. I ended up just buying a new computer and or building one rather. And I got a free game with my graphics card, and I could either choose Battlefield. What is it now? 5, 4, 6. The World War II one, anyways, the most recent one. Or I could choose Anthem. So I picked up Anthem, and it hasn't released yet, but I'm looking forward to it now. It's 5 now. Okay. Sorry, give me a moment. So I went cross-country skiing today, which is something we do in Canada. And oh man, there we go. I fell like several times because I'm not built for skis. I'm tall and I'm very bad at skiing. Not just because I'm tall, just because I maybe haven't practiced or just am naturally bad at it. Anyways, there were a few times where I fell. And one point I landed right on my tailbone. It just like sent a shockwave through my entire back. And I'm all sore, so I'm contorting myself. Let's see. We got Justin. Can you do an audiobook series for high school books taught today? You might be able to get a reader's contract and a moolah if you can sell them to districts. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. A lot of those books, actually, funnily enough, my one recording of the Ray Bradbury short story, The Pedestria, that I've got on my YouTube channel has a decent amount of views. And I think the large majority of them is from students who have to read The Pedestrian. And so they listen to it. Yeah, so more of that would be cool. Yeah, I'd be down to do more of that. As I like a lot of those stuff that they teach in high schools. Like, it's good stories, like George Orwell, Ray Bradbury. What else do you learn in high school? I don't know. Those are the ones that I like. Anything that's kind of like, dystopian or whatever, I think that's cool. Okay, let's do this. I'm just going to check quickly. Average high schoolers readers list. Okay. Popular high school reading list books. We got Lord of the Flies, The Great Gatsby, 1984, The Catcher in the Rye, The Scarlet Letter, To Kill a Mockingbird, Romeo and Juliet, Animal Farm. I wonder if there probably is a reading of Animal Farm on YouTube already. All the really popular ones. Oh yeah, God, look at them. Oh, there's the cartoon as well. I gotta watch that.
Animal Farm by George Orwell.
Oh.
Read by
Timothy West. There's an audiobook on there
Mr. Jones.
already. Oh, he's a fantastic narrator. Okay, then we got Of Mice and Men, Hamlet, Wuthering Heights, Macbeth, Brave New World, which I haven't read. I haven't read Brave New World. Thinking about it, gifted a copy of a game called Buried, an interactive story to Harlan on Steam for a future speaking, but since it's I think it could also work as a Justin Reads. Oh, cool. Buried, an interactive story. Buried is a playable interactive story told through stunning photos, a haunting soundscape, and gripping text. You play the role of Roger Hastings, a logger working the forest with his crew. When he awakens to find his friends missing and no memory of what's happened. Cool. Yeah, I'd be down to do something like that, like a Justin Reads. That sounds like it'd be good because, like, the text is the focus of the game, I guess. Some games I find like it's hard to do like a reading podcast. I've never actually done it, but like to try and read all of the text and stuff. Like, so a game like Skyrim, like where the main purpose of the game is not Skyrim itself, or is not like the reading. Like, it's like, to explore Skyrim and, kill dragons and shit. But there's still like all of those books and stuff. So like to sit and like read those books, I don't know, feels like such a slog. I would imagine it is like for a stream as well. But it could be kind of cool to do a Elder Scrolls read. Let's play a story game with Justin.
Justin reads a story game. Dope. Yeah, I'm down. We got Brave New World. We got The Odyssey. We got Diary of a Young Girl. We got The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. The Crucible by Arthur Miller. See, when I think of The Crucible, I don't think of this. Like, I've been tainted by my own game. That's my dragon scream. Fahrenheit 451. Catch 22. Okay, so I read Catch 22 in high school, and I didn't get it. I bullshat my way through. Bullshat is the past participle of bullshit. I bullshat my way through all of the papers that I drew for them. Is a new Dragon Age coming out, Carly? Wait. New Dragon Age. Wait, like Inquisition? Inquisition's kind of like that, where there's like all those codex entries, which I think are so cool. Oh yeah, so I started doing those codex entries on Invictus, and I don't know, like nobody really wanted to watch them. They're like really short videos, and like I don't know, you don't need them as a video. Like who fucking needs that as a video? But anyways, it's like I don't know. I would like to just have an excuse to read those codex entries, you know, have them in audio somehow. Maybe I'll just make that as a personal project. Oh, you're hooked on Afterlife Online. That's great to hear, Mike. So if anybody's wondering, I actually do narrate for a living, and Afterlife Online was my lucky break, I guess. I was very lucky. Like I basically decided I was going to make the switch into narration, and I just so happened to audition for this project, which is a lit RPG, and I got it. And then I didn't realize that lit RPG was such a huge genre that's booming ever since Ready Player One. And then I got in touch with other narrators that are working in the genre, and we're like, let's work together. And so now that's pretty much all I narrate, except for the occasional smutty erotica book. But I leave some of those to Hollis Williams, my pseudonym. Yeah, so that's great that you're listening to it. Thank you so much. It gets good. Domino is a solid author. I've worked with a few authors now in the lit RPG community, which is a very new genre. So some of the authors, like it's their first novels and stuff, and like they're not as legit. They don't have their system down yet. They're still kind of growing. Domino was legit. Like he's very serious, and like he was the one. He really helped me to tone down my Canadian accent while narrating. And I've still got a bit of a Canadian flair to my accent, but he would go through and listen to my work and say, okay, so you're saying process, you should be saying process. You are saying about when you should be saying about. And so it was a good experience for me. It was a big learning experience. Who says it needs to be toned down? That is a good question. And it's something that I've been thinking about, Colin. Why change my accent? Why not be Canadian in all my glory and all that? Mainly because if you're listening to a 10-hour audiobook, 15-hour, 20 hours, you might get used to the voice. You will get used to the voice after 20 hours. And like by the end of it, you'll be like, oh, okay, I'm used to this. But people judge books by their covers, and people judge narrators by the samples that they have on their books. And so like if you hear a weird accent that doesn't sound right to you, as wrong as it kind of sounds, like
this is just one reason. I think there are a few reasons, but if you hear like a book, you know, is going to be narrated by someone who has, you know, an accent that you're not so used to, it can be grating. Like you might just cancel yourself out from the experience because you don't want to listen to someone who says pasta instead of pasta. You don't like that'll be grating for you. So you're like, no, I'm not going to read this. That's the fear, I guess. In practice, are there like Canadian narrators who stick to their accent? Yes, on Canadian content. And probably yes, like for other stuff as well, but listeners do notice it, and it does bother listeners, as unfortunate as that is. But I mean, I have no problem with it. Like narrators are characters as well, so like trying to get a general American accent for this character of the narrator is I don't know, I don't feel diminished in any way. I don't feel like I'm losing a part of my Canadian side. There are going to be some books where I can fully lean into my Canadian side, and it's more, it feels more appropriate, I guess. But I guess sticking with the standard general American is the safe option. Does Americanized spelling throw me off? Not particularly. Because I read American spelling a lot, probably a lot more than you guys read Canadian spelling, because lots of posts on Facebook are American, like they started in the States. I work with a lot of Americans. Lots of the media comes from the States. So yeah, so like it doesn't bother me that much. I think that there are some ways that you guys pronounce things that bother me. Pasta. That doesn't bother me that much. What did I just say there? That was like grade A mumbling. Justin, if you use your Canadian accent, it will exonerate me from all USA social standards. Well, actually, there was a guy over working on the furnace the other day, and he was suggesting that because my dad is dual class or dual citizen, he's American and Canadian, that I should get my American citizenship. It wouldn't be too difficult for me. I haven't looked into it yet, but if I got that, then I don't think I'd be exonerated from USA social standards anymore. Yeah. That was a great Freudian slip. My father's a dual class. That's hilarious. I have a dual class father. He actually is dual class, or dual profession at least. He's a teacher / artist. I would say if the level cap is 30, he's like a level 30 artist, like sculptor, wood sculptor, and a level 25 teacher. That's his balance. Yeah, he's put a lot of points into charisma, a lot of points into strength and constitution. So like I feel like charisma is his main stat, and then strength and con are maybe his his second stat. That guy can weave a story. He's speaking of Ovid Metamorphosis, he's like his pantheon of work draws heavily from mythology, Norse myth, Greek myth. He's a barbarian, I would say. Yeah, he was in the Air Force as well, but he was a mechanic, so that's more intelligence. But I would say no. I think that the strength and constitution is more apt. It does if Canadian temperatures get involved with cooking. Oh, spelling makes no difference in taste. Oh, yes, it does. Good one, Carly. I I'm going to give you a spook vote. But it's just going to be a laugh vote now. All right, so I think there might be one more. I think there's one more group. I think Brianna and Michael suggested one. Oh, we got one from Mike Kyle, actually. So let's jump to that. All right. So this is a new one. This is called Daddy. Daddy. Hey, Daddy-o. Link is in the thing, and I'm going to put a thing on it. There it is. There we go. We got the spook up on the next story. LEWD. Load. How doth one vote for things? Oh, I love the thing. Yeah, so just one chat down. In Battle Story Champ, I'm posting all the stories that I'm reading, and that little skull is the spookometer. So you just click on that skull when you feel a spook when I'm reading the story. So if it spooks you, and the more people that get spooked, the higher the spookometer goes, and the higher rated the spooky story gets. You dig? All right, here we go. I feel like I'm feeling a southern sort of vibe for this. Daddy. Daddy's hard, calloused hands cracked me across the face and head. Bright white light filled up behind my eyes like stars, and my ears rang. My head hurt something awful when I felt the left side of my face puffing up. I tasted blood. Did you not hear what I just said, you useless piece of crap? I told you to take out that damn trash. Now get! A special report had come on the radio just before I got walloped. That's what I'd been listening to instead of Daddy. The radio guy was talking about somebody messing with the graves out at Green Hills. That's the graveyard out at the edge of town. I didn't get the rest of what he was saying because Daddy snapped the radio off just then. I'm sorry, Daddy. I know you are, Daddy said, and just stood there glaring and breathing heavy. I grabbed my blue jacket off its hook and by the door and shrugged into it as fast as I could without another word. It doesn't do to rile Daddy while he's having one of his bad days. He was madder than a two-tailed cat when he came home from job hunting, and he was already halfway into his second bottle. I knew I'd be walking on eggshells the rest of the night as it was. I took out the full bag and switched it with a new one, nice and neat, the way Daddy likes. He grunted and walked into the living room to drink in the dark. We don't have a TV because Daddy smashed the screen in when we found out who our next president is. He beat me for the next day on account I didn't stop him. Like a little 10-year-old like me could stop a big man like him from doing stuff. I knew better than telling him that, though. It was dark, and the cool spring air made my face feel better when I'd hit it. Crickets were singing in the grass, and the frogs were peeping in the back field. I thought I could hear something else out there in the dark. Quiet shuffling, like somebody was out there playing creep mouse. I thought it was my imagination and ignored it. Being out at night scares me because coyotes come down from the mountains to bother the chickens. I would have done the trash earlier when it was still light, but I had a lot of homework. I put the trash bag into the rusted oil drum that we used for burning and set it on fire. I stood there watching the fire and thinking about how much Daddy had changed over the past year or so. It started when Mama got sick and died. He started to drink, but didn't hit me. He just sat there and cried. Then Daddy lost his job. He said it was because the commie in the White House passed a law and the mine got shut down. He got real mad after that. I miss how he'd sit me on his knee and sing Big Bad John. It's his favorite song. He told me once that I'm named after the guy in the song that saved all those miners. I don't know how long I stood there looking at the fire, but the air was cooler and the trash bag was almost ashes. I could swear I heard that sound again, only it was closer. I hurried back to the house. I still had to take a shower and get ready for bed. The next day was a weekend, but I still had to go to bed early. Daddy was sleeping in his chair when I got in. I kissed him on his forehead, went to take my shower. Something woke me out of a dead sleep. I don't know how long after. It was pounding on my window, trying to get in. I peeked out the window to see what was there. The moon was on this side of the house, and I could see Mr. Goldman from down the road out there. Daddy calls him the useless New York jerk. Well, not jerk, but I ain't supposed to use bad words. Anyway, there he was, on the other side of the glass. He was eating something, but I couldn't tell what it was at first. He saw me watching him and went wild. He pounded on the window with both hands. That's when I saw what he was holding. It was a person's leg. There was a shoe still on its foot. I got a better look at his face, too. I wish I hadn't. It was covered in blood. The blood looked black in the moonlight. I must have screamed because the next thing I know, Daddy was charging into my room and shaking me like dog does a rat. "What's all that damn racket about?" I pointed toward the window and said, "Mr. Goldman's out there and he's eating." That's as far as I got. Daddy pushed me into the bed and went running down the hall, hollering, "I'll get that SOB! I'm gonna tear him a new a-hole!" Bounced off the bed and ran after him, saying, "Daddy, don't go out there! Something ain't right with him!" Did me no good. He just slammed out of the house without looking at me. He ran around the house to the back. I could hear him yelling and cussing the whole way. I watched him, running from one window to another to keep him in sight. Mr. Goldman was still there when Daddy got to the back. Daddy grabbed hold of him and started beating him up. Didn't seem to hurt Mr. Goldman any. He dropped the leg he'd been chewing on and took hold of Daddy with both hands. His head snapped forward and he bit Daddy on the shoulder. Daddy screamed like I never heard it before. That's when I hid. Grabbed a blanket and pillow and hunkered down in the closet. It was well past sun up when I was brave enough to come out. It was either then or pee my pants. I can't imagine the whipping Daddy would have given me if I'd done that. I looked out the window about 10 minutes ago. Mr. Goldman is still out there. So is Daddy. I don't think he got hurt too bad. He's up and walking around. There are 6 others with them. None of them look right. They're stumbling around and moaning. They saw me looking and are trying to get in the house. I blocked the windows as good as I could and locked the doors. I'm still sitting at the kitchen table with the radio up loud so I can't hear them. I ain't opening that door no matter how bad Daddy beats me later. That's it. Nice. That's a spooky one. I feel like my appetite for zombie stories is slowly building again. There was kind of like a period where it was like zombies, zombies, zombies. And like this was around the time when I think Left 4 Dead came out, where it was just like zombies were the coolest. And then like 5 years later, everybody was sick of zombies. I was sick of zombies. And then now, like, it's been kind of, there's been a lull in the whole zombie thing, and I'm feeling better. But then again, I never watched The Walking Dead, so I haven't had that satisfy me. Can we have Southern Comfort Justin just be the new default? Sure, I'll just be Southern Comfort Justin. Why not? I'll just do this the whole time. Mama Justin, best voiceover. Got to get that Cedric Benson vibe in here for this story. Passive-aggressive parents and all that. Yeah, actually, I was feeling a Cedric Benson vibe from this the whole time. Really cool. I mean, like, abusive daddy. I think it would have been, like, perfect if the daddy went out there and actually kicked ass. Because then it would have been, like, the exact parallel of Cedric and his mom. Like, how her harshness was of benefit to him. And same with this, but he went out there and he got zombified. Yeah, it was great from the child's perspective. Yeah, I really like that from their perspective. Yeah. Left 4 Dead, then Undead Nightmare, then every other game. So true. Yeah, kind of starting to warm up to zombies again, but still mostly in the zombie fatigue zone. Yeah, totally. There's like, if zombies are done like uniquely or from a different perspective, I'm like willing to listen now. It's not totally like, oh, another zombie story. Oh, Jesus. Oh, but Jesus. You wrote that! No shit! Surprise, surprise, dude. That was great. Holy crap. I'm really impressed. I'm really impressed, dude. That was awesome. Mr. Goldman. Option my voice to be a digital voice profile? Sure. Hey, Justin. Yes? Can you repeat that for me? In my Southern Comfort, Justin? Can you repeat that for me? You mind repeating that for me? You bet your bottom dollar it's cold outside. You gotta be out of your cotton picking, pig skinning, chicken plucking mind if you're gonna go out there. What is it? You gotta be out of your cotton picking, chicken plucking, pig skinning mind. That's it. Oh, Despacito. Do I even know that song? Despacito. No, I'm not gonna play Despacito. Bjorn. Okay, let's do the spook vote. Spook vote, spook vote, spook vote. Okay, so down in the Battle Story Champion Submission section, we've got Daddy, which is available for spooks, currently sitting at 8 votes. I'm going to do my trademark countdown starting now. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All right, looks like we got ourselves the final spook count for Daddy, written by Mike Kyle, sitting at 9 spooks. That puts Daddy into second place, officially into second place. Well, kiss my grits. Mike Kyle, you're on the board, my friend. Daddy. I really liked that. That was a really well-written story. All right. Beautiful. Okay, have we got any more? Yes, we have another one from Michael and Brianna. Oh, yeah. Well, what's also funny, Mike says that it's funny that the idea popped into his head when he was out one night burning trash. It's funny that it was just kind of like a perfect storm of like the accent I went with and the like reason that the dad gets mad at the boy is to take out the trash. that's my job every Wednesday night. Living with my dad, right now, I got to do some chores. And every Wednesday night, it's Invictus night. It's game night, but it's also got to take out the trash, Justin. Got to take out that trash. This is my dad. So so that's always my task. So I kind of did an inner chuckle to myself when it was the boys' task as well. Inspiration comes from the most unlikely places. Alrighty, well, let's do congratulations, you're in second place. Next we're going to do our last story of the evening, In the Vault by H.P. Lovecraft. Now I've been requested to read as Charles. I'm not going to read the whole thing as Charles. Well, let me see, actually. Let me double check, because this one I think is, how long? Oh, it's not that long. Okay. I think I might try to read the whole thing as Charles. I can do a good narration of this later. Another day. Let me just test the word count just to see how long this should take me. Ooh, it's slightly over 3,000, so this is a longer one. I'm going to read an excerpt of it. It's Charles. Oh, okay. Charles. What? Charles. Hey. Charles. Hey. Charles, get in here. I'm not British. I don't know why I'm speaking in a British accent. Hey. I don't remember what I sound like. I just keep going into a British accent. Seatbelts, everyone. Oh. All right. Let's see here. Oh, I think that's it. Oh boy, Charles reading Lovecraft. Okay. In the Vault by H.P. Lovecraft, dedicated to C.W. Smith, from whose suggestion the central situation is taken. Charles? What does that mean? I don't know what that means. All right. There is nothing more absurd, as I view it, than the conventional association of the homely and the wholesome, which seems to pervade the psychology of the multitude. Mention a bucolic Yankee setting, a bungling and thick-fibered village undertaker, and a careless mishap in a tomb, and no average reader can be brought to expect more than a hearty, albeit grotesque, phase of comedy. God knows, though, that the prosy tale which George Birch's death permits me to tell has in it aspects beside which some of our darkest tragedies are light. Birch acquired a limitation and changed his business in 1881, yet never discussed the case when he could avoid it. Neither did his old physician, Dr. Davis, who died years ago. It was generally stated that the affliction and shock were results of an unlucky slip, whereby Birch had locked himself. He locked himself for 9 hours in a receiving
Charles! Charles! Oh, all right, he went out. But while this much was undoubtedly true, there were other and blacker things. Blacker! Blacker. I ain't got nothing wrong with the black ones. No, not me. No, nothing wrong with them. I once met a nice black man by the name of Justin. Now, he was a nice black man. And he told me that other black men were nice too. And I said, well, not all of them. Not all of them. But he said, more than you'd think. And I said, well, maybe you're right. And then I gave up my racist ways. Oh, yes. The days of being racist, I don't necessarily miss them. But sometimes I do think that life was easier when we could be racist. It was more of a clear-cut, cut and dry sort of way of looking at it. Black and white, if you will. Everything was just so much simpler, and you knew whose stores you could go into and whose stores you'd want to avoid. Vice versa. You knew what entrance the door you were supposed to go into for white, and then for blacks as well. It all seemed to make sense for me. But then the Asians came, and that just mixed everything up. Are they white? Are they black? I guess they're more of a white, but don't get me started on the East, the Indians and the Middle Eastern people, because they were right smack dab in the middle. And the Mexicans, which door do they go into? That's what I want to know. And so, I say with conviction that it is better not to be racist than to be racist, thanks to my friend Justin James, audiobook narrator in Ontario, Canada. Oh, don't ask me how I know him, but I do. Charles and him are good friends. But to cut a long story short, the skull turned my stomach, but the other was worse. Those ankles cut neatly off to fit Matt Fenner's cast-aside coffin. The end. That was In the Vault by H.P. Lovecraft. I read the whole thing, and if it didn't sound like I did, then you weren't paying close enough attention, because this was, word for word, what was in the story. Charles! All right, he went out. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I really enjoyed your company. How do I turn off the stream, Charles? Oh, right, he went out. Well, I don't know how to turn it off, so I think I'll just sit here. And wait. I was going to get naked, but I don't want to do that in this day and age. You don't know where the video will end up, and then you might find yourself in a bit of a pickle when CBC News comes down. Aren't I from Chicago? Why would the CBC from Canada be coming down to Chicago to tell me that my naked my naked body's all over the internet. The body's not anything to be ashamed of, by the way. I have a beautiful body. It's sagging in all the right places. And there's nothing wrong with my old giblets. They are fine. Thank you very much. And this is why you must always love your body, no matter what shape it is, no matter how saggy or tired it is. Oh, oh, oh. In the Vault by H.P. Lovecraft, dedicated to C.W. Smith, from whose suggestion the central situation is taken. Charles! What does that... Oh, did he go out?
And that's where we're going to end it. Charles, everyone. I like Charles. He's a good man. He was a little racist when I met him, but he's changed his ways. You know, it's never too late. It's never too late to stop being a racist, you know? Charles is 174, at least. That's what he told me last time. The time before that, he told me he was 209. And the time before that, he told me he was over a millennium old. And then the time before that, he told me he was 20. He was my age. Well, I'm not 20, but it's never too late. So don't forget that. And also don't forget that this was Battle of the Stories. Battle Stories. And here we go to announce the winner of Battle Stories. So there were 6 stories that I read today. I didn't count the last one, sorry. At the end, we had Neil Gaiman, 7 spooks. Next in line were 3 people, 3 runners up for 3rd place. 3 runners up for 3rd? Is that a thing? That's SCP-106, Hop Frog, and SCP-860 with 8 spooks each. And lastly, and in 2nd place, we have Daddy, written by Mike Kyle, our very own Mike Kyle. And that got 9 spooks. And then, of course, the very first place with coming up at 12 spooks. Pardon me. We have the disappearance of Ashley. Where was it? Kansas? I think it was Kansas. Oh, yes. And, well, actually, I feel like that should have more spooks. Student loans. Yeah, so congratulations to Bjorn. That was your suggestions. Congratulations to Mike for your story that you wrote, making it into 2nd place. That's fantastic. And everybody else, congratulations on your book making it into the final 6 of Battle Stories. Battle Stories. We put in stories together to see which was the spookiest of all. Some of them were really great, and some of them were creepy as fuck. Battle Stories, yeah. My name is Justin Thomas James. And I thank you for joining me this evening for another episode of Justin Reads Stuff. Have a good night. We'll see you next week.